Good morning to all. I think thanks a lot for some of the responses that are received, number one, and I welcome each one of you to yet another video walk wherein now I would be focusing more on the review form also that is there for the qualitative studies on one side and those guidelines also. So, some of you requested me to showcase you the review form also. So here we go. And this is because we have to go ahead and mention it. You need to cite this thing that yes, this particular form which is called as the critical review form has been adapted from so and so. Do the citation completely and come back. Okay, and once you are taking care, now go ahead and start looking at this particular I would say the entire paper review form which is there, and keep this form in front of you so that you are able to make use of this particular paper absolutely nicely and in a very nice manner, so that you are able to know what exactly I am doing for this particular with this particular form. So here you can see that yes, on the one side I have got this particular paper review form, and on the other side I have the guidelines. So once you are able to understand and see how the entire thing works upon, you can definitely prepare your own Excel sheet. Now what I do, if you ask me personally, I have a small printer of my own at home, and I take out, and a bunch of those A4 size papers are there for me. So I take out the printout of this particular form and keep it in front of me while I'm reading a paper. Now see, the first form is this one, purpose of the study. Now this is where I started off yesterday, and the question is very clearly has been asked to you. Was the purpose and or research question stated clearly? You just have to mention either yes or no and come over. So you see, the review form has been divided into two columns, I would say. One wherein you are asking a question, and whatever your answers are, they would be documented or recorded on the right hand side. So here is the question, outline the purpose of the study and or research question. So if you are happy with the purpose, like for example, when you go to some of these Scopus papers like published in Emerald, or you can say I have seen in Taylor and Francis, or you go to Elsevier there, or some of the well established papers like if I go to the School of Medicine or nursing or surgery, or the other schools of medicine like Tibetan medicine, yoga medicine, or Ayurvedic medicines. Also I have seen they when they are publishing those papers, they have the clear mention. First thing is basically the objective, aim, or what you call it as the objectives and those kind of stuff. So you need to go ahead and you need to document it. So outline the purpose. So there is clearly one category. I'll show you when I'm taking up the paper, and you will understand that yes, there is what you can call it as the purpose of the study, or and its choice is yours. You can write A, purpose of the study, or B, you can write even objectives, because you see every paper that has been published clearly mentions either in the section of the abstract, which we will see, or separately when you are reading the entire paper, their objectives are specified. So go ahead and jot down those things, and the research question. Now you see, the first thing that you have to understand is the way the research question has been formulated. You cannot formulate a research question just like that. So see how well they have taken care of it. Go ahead and make a note of it. Secondly, describe the justification of the need for this study. Now this you will find either in dissertations or theses or the papers, where the heading of that particular section is background, and immediately after that they write it down, rationale. So these are the two words that you need to identify while you are looking. Now I'm just going to take you through this particular form, and while we are doing the practical session wherein I'm going to keep the guidelines ready with me. For example, this is the guideline. Okay, so let's say I have my guidelines, that is this particular paper which I was trying to read out. So I know each and every part of it has been, which we call it as the review components, what all things have to be mentioned. So those things are there very nicely. And on the second hand, I have the paper in front of me. Now for example, this is the paper. Now this is I have taken it from pain management and sedation. This is one of the, I'm just writing with some individuals a paper on pain management, and together. So this is one paper that came across to me as a qualitative paper. So I thought, okay, let me just share that one, because I spent a lot of time on this and other papers also. So depending upon your area, for example, I'll pick up some of the papers published in the Department of Management, finance. I'll just show it to you. Maybe I may not be able to work on each and every domain. However, some of the domains and some of the papers which I really like. Now for example, this is one paper on which I was working. The second paper which I was literally reading, it was on this one, and that is barriers to the alcohol dependence. From the title itself, you come to know as to what exactly is going to take place. And if you just scroll down little bit, you will be able to see certain things again in this particular paper. Yeah. Now this is what I was trying to tell you, that in this itself you can understand and find it out. Not the entire paper, that we will take care of it later on. Here you can see introduction, materials and methods, results and discussion, conclusion. Then you have got keywords. Now whether you make a Excel sheet with just these things, or are you, now when I say you need to study a paper, you are studying that particular paper in depth. So keep your eyes and ears open when you are reading that particular paper, and it's really important so that we understand. So this is exactly what I wanted to mention. And come back to this particular thing. So you can keep both of them. You can divide your screen into two windows. For example, on one side I can minimize this one, so the entire thing can be short. You can minimize this particular screen, and you can minimize this screen also side by side, and you are. Now I'll show you that arrangement in my next video walk, and then you can keep both of them together and how to use the online way to understand it. So if you have this is the first question that you need to answer. Then this is the first question: purpose of the study. Was the purpose or research question stated clearly? You are just going to tick mark either yes or no. As simple as that, nothing more than that. Come to the next block, outline the purpose. That means either you copy paste. However, my recommendation is do not copy paste, because if you are going to make your own Excel sheet, which I think I showed it yesterday, if not I will be showing to you today itself again. And one of the papers wherein I'll just show you this particular paper, once the entire form has been filled up, you can go ahead, and this is the Scopus paper. Let me tell you, it's not any ordinary paper, and this particular paper has been published. And look at the number of pages that the person, the team had involved in publishing that paper. I will show you the discussion, how. Now this is the one. Now quality evaluation of the quantitative articles. Now you see, I'm not talking about writing in whatever way you feel like. Now in order to build a grid like this one, and I'll just show you as to how much effort the author has taken in order to publish this particular paper. Now you see, it is starting on page number 4. Just see, and I'm just scrolling down to show you how much time he must have taken, and this is the citation of the article. So let me just go through it immediately. This is the first page, 4, and this is the second page. Now let's move ahead. I'm not reading anything, I'm just scrolling down just to see what they have written over there. And this is my third page, that is 4, 5, 6 as coming. So this is my third page, and is this the end of it or the person is continuing? And you will see it has continued the discussion, and this is the 7th page. And immediately let's have a look whether this is the 4th. No, here he has completed, and here is the table 2. Now, in order to generate such an elaborative table, it's not just like that you will just go ahead. It's a very meticulous exercise. So you can see 7, 9th I have come in. The contents are the same thing, and then 9, 10. This is the 10th page, so you can count how many pages have completed. So 9 to 5 to 10, so that means exactly 6 papers he has used. The team has used to go ahead and document the tables. Now that is the beauty of this paper, and it really boggled me when I was reading it, and I said this is a beautiful way of writing a paper, wherein you put in a lot of effort in order to see that yes, you have done dedicatedly and with lot of passion, I would say, entered into the zone of making your own documentations record for the research. So this is the first question. Afterwards, the second question, this is my I would go ahead and make it as first question, and this is the second question that you can go ahead and this has gone, so let me go ahead and make it up. So now they are telling you go ahead and describe the justification of the need for this study. Was it clear and compelling? That means what? This will be showcased to you when while taking you through. I'll make you understand as to how to write and deal with this kind of a question. Describe the justification of the need for this study. That comes through background and the rationale for that particular paper or thesis or for the dissertation. Was it clear and compelling? So when it is very clear, you are able to understand that yes, what is the need or justification. Now you see why I'm taking this particular effort to prepare video and get it uploaded is the reason that one should understand. Now you see, when Emerald, Taylor Francis and we are making so much of effort to go ahead, write a paper and get them published in a Scopus or some ABCD journal, at that time you need to know what all things are going into it so that we are able to understand. So in Emerald, they have one particular section is given to you completely as to why you want to do it, objective or focus. Then comes your justification as to why you require it. So here you need to go ahead and make a complete a para or 2 paragraphs wherein you are going to discuss about this particular thing. Compelling in the sense that okay, you're reading the paper, however, rather than giving it to you in a very transparent manner that yes, we are conducting this particular research for the reasons 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever they have mentioned, you will see that you are making an effort to understand what is the need for writing this particular paper. Now sometimes when I am reading the paper, I completely first of all boggle up to understand how is it that the person really wants to do this kind of a research. Now you will first of all make a note, why do you require this one? So that is the reason why this particular question has the part. Now the second one, if you look at the study design, now since we are talking about the qualitative, so just like quantitative papers have research designs, let me mark it to you, even the qualitative papers, the study designs are there. Now I'm not going to enter, so don't ask me too many questions or send me the mail for that. However, simultaneously I'm seeing that yes, there a time has come in for me to put in a lot of effort to the videos and upload it so that we understand what actually is qualitative research also for us, and should we give equal importance as we are giving to the quantitative definitely, because a lot of numbers are involved and the answers that we get, the responses, I'm not talking about the participants participants' responses in the for after the paper has been published. The kind of thing that you get the support is through those numbers, the quantification, the percentage, everything that you, so you have that backup. See, this is what. However, when we come to the qualitative side of it, similarly, you will see a lot of things once you understand what exactly is going into the qualitative research. So here you will see what was the design. Was it phenomenology? I'm just restricting myself for these one. Phenomenology, ethnography, grounded theory, participatory action research. Was it empirical or just an observational paper? When you talk about other, remember they are using more schools which are there, like interpretivism, descriptivism, narrativism, then a case study approach, or is it a feministic kind of a paper? Now, for example, I have observed because my mother was hospitalized, and last year, I should say from August till February 19th, I was dedicated just to hospitals and my home. So being the attendee, being her daughter and being an attendee, the sole attendee in the hospital, maximum of my time was spent in the hospitals, trying to understand on one side the world of doctors, the world of nurses. Then you have got the other medical individuals like dietitian, nutritionist is also there. Then you have got those attendants who are representing either the doctors or the sisters, I would say, or the nurses who are there, and the general public. Not the general public, I'm not talking about the non-medical ones, I'm talking about the entire management staff which is there. And my observation, because my mother was admitted to Apollo Sarita Vihar Hospital, and I was dedicated for these I don't know 8 to 9 months, and I was surprised that how sensitive I have become towards the research myself and the data, because you see, my mother, she underwent the surgery. Why I'm telling you is that the kind of information that you can retrieve, it's not just from the secondary sources like the papers, you get those experiences also. So luckily I had to carry my laptop or my notebooks to the hospital and start jotting down whatever things are there. It can be my conversation with the surgeons, it can be my conversation with the let's say dietitian, because she has to come and she has to take that, make a note for the breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, or in between whatever snacks or beverages were there for them, for my mother and me also side by side. Then comes the nurses, group of nurses versus one dedicated nurse, and I could draw those demarcating lines between the world of the medical medicine on one side, on the other side patient like my mother. And it was not just my mother, because I was the attendee and there were other attendees also, and we had a common room where we were able to share, rather than just when my mother was in emergency, okay, and she was there for nearly 1.5 months in emergency. So when she was being taken care of there, so obviously there was another room and I cannot stay with her in the emergency room, so it was nearby the emergency room where, so there were other attendees and their relatives or immediate family members, and the kind of conversation. So I was thinking, okay, now here comes it for me. I'm blessed in that manner that yes, with my own eyes I was able to get the first-hand experience, number one, and I forgot myself that yes, I turned out to be a researcher myself, and the kind of observations that I had to make, and on the other side the patients, because you see, they are the ones who are experiencing the pain. Now I can go and ask my mother 100 times, Mama, are you fine? Is everything fine for you? Is there any problem for you that you are facing? Kindly share it with me. And I had to ask her these questions, like Neeraj sir keeps on saying, when you are taking up the opinions from the person, you will be asking the same question in 100 ways. The same question. So being a South Indian, I asked her in Telugu language, in Hindi, in front of the nurses, so that the nurses do not feel bad. And in order to build a rapport, the nurses turned out to be from Kerala, so I had to converse with them to be friendly, so that they take care of my mother properly. So I was speaking to them in Malayalam, and then comes in the part wherein it is just me and my mother in front of the doctors, in front of the experts, in front of the surgeon, in front of the head nurse or the dedicated nurse who was there for my mother, in Hindi language, in Malayalam, in Telugu, in Hindi, in English. So you can see the kind of data that was coming up for me, and I thought I'm not supposed to leave all these things. So I think I jotted down each and every point, and I could see the differences which are coming when I asked my mother, who is the patient, and she is the one who is suffering more than me or the doctors or anybody. Now, while giving her the food, now she used to complain to me, ye bhi koi khana hai? I mean, she used to ask me and tell me in Telugu, Ramani, I cannot eat this kind of a food at all. Then I told her, it's Apollo, and if you don't like it, you tell me what you want. Then so when the items were changed, she said, ye bhi koi khana hai? So I said, obviously this is the medical field, number one, and don't forget that you're in a hospital, you cannot get the food because you see, we being from Andhra, so the food is little bit spicy or tangier kind of a thing. However, she forgot that she cannot get, so it was absolutely flat and blank kind of a food which is not spicy or oily or anything, and it was very hygienic kind of a thing. However, one day she got so irritated that she asked me, why don't you taste and see? At that time I understood, you see, the taste buds of the patient, they cannot on a daily basis just rely on khichdi, they cannot rely on the kind of idlis which are prepared. Now, so I had to literally understand the preparation of the idlis even in the hospitals, the food I'm talking about, how it is given to them. So you see, the dietitian, my conversation with her, I asked her, okay, you're giving her idli and chutney or a curd, whatever it is, to her, and what kind of a idli is it? Then when I came to know that patients who are admitted, they cannot eat a particular kind of a idli, they need a different kind of a thing. So my journey started off in understanding all the things. Though I'm a South Indian, I know how to prepare idli, coconut chutney or sambar or whatever, the lal chutney or the tomato chutneys, and being a South Indian, I can share a lot. However, when I started researching the patient's food and this one, then I understood you cannot just go ahead give them what we call it as the rice idlis. They need some idlis which are fermented ones, so that it gets easily digested, it is palatable for their taste buds also. So I'm just giving you an example out here. So when you are designing, you need to understand. So why I'm talking about the study design and feminism is because I'm a female. Now I know how to go ahead and do the cooking. If it is let's say my cousin who was there along with me in the hospital, and she said that I didn't like the food, he did not understand, and he just uttered just one however, we are paying the dietitian 3,000 rupees per day. So if you do not like, now, you see, now, being a female, I did not think in terms of the money. However, my cousin brother who was there, his first sentence that uttered was, we are paying the dietitian 3,000 rupees per day. So you can understand the difference between me as a woman, as a female, or as I would say a person, and a man who thinks about all these things that yes, we are doing, and he's demanding, if you don't like it, I will call the dietitian. And he was not there. He placed a call to me and he said, Ramsey, can you ask dietitian to come over to you and ask her, we are paying you so much of the money and we want a proper diet for the patient. Now can I speak in that manner? No. So you can see the differences which are coming, and that's why we have a completely a different study design which is called as feminism. Now similarly, my mother, she's also a woman. Now she cannot discuss everything like urinating, because she was in the emergency. So she hesitated. She said that I cannot urinate in front of the nurse. However, in front of me also, I said, you cannot step out of the emergency room to, I cannot take you to the washroom. So, the facility that was given to her, then, I could understand. She was asking me, can you also move? I said, then how would you go ahead with the urination part of it? So you can see that she is also feeling ashamed of herself, that yes, how can I do urinate in front of my own daughter or in front of a third person who is again. So those gaps are coming, and you are able to note down if you are sensitive enough. So you will understand what kind of a design are you looking for. Is it from the feministic point of view, or is it a combination of phenomenology plus feminism, or is it like most of the things that takes place between me and the medical field is through conversation, the language that we are speaking. Now when I'm interacting, let's say, with the surgeon who performed the surgery, the heart surgery for my mother, when he's talking to me, he will be talking to me in terms of the medical language. Now when because he has to explain to me each and everything, and I represented as a primary caretaker for the patient, okay, I'm using those words also. So the question arises, am I comfortable with his language that he's trying to deliver the information to me? Or through the help of the videos, the pictures, the graphs, the cartoons which were there, and I was amazed. Surgery is taking place, and side by side you got those softwares which are showcasing the live case of your like in my mother's case, her heart, and the way the surgery was being taken care of. Number one, I was able to see what is happening inside her body and how the surgery was being taken care of. And secondly, then how the surgery has been converted immediately into a cartoon film, and they are showcasing what else could be done in future, or what kind of precautionary measures have to be taken care of. So you will see that these things really affect your design sign, and that's why I said you need to be very sensitive towards your own. So you have got phenomenology plus feminism, or ethnography plus feminism, grounded theory plus feminism, participatory, or is it focus group? So all these things, the schools, you cannot say that yes, I'm doing it like this. No, you need to be very, very careful about your study design. Okay, next comes and all these things you have to write it down. Now I have spoken so much, however I'm very good at writing. I love writing, so instead of speaking, I prefer to write down in this particular box which is there for me. So that is how the things goes about. Then the methods used. Is it participant observation? Now, for example, I'm the participant over there, and I am observing the nurses, the doctors, the experts, the surgeons, my mother, who's a patient, all of them together. And I'm not supposed to be biased over there. No biasness that yes, like I have to go and compel and say, okay, when I'm observing, this is what. No, I need to document exactly what my eyes are showing it to me. Not that something else I'll be creating. Or I mean, I'm not supposed to make assumptions. That's what I'm making it clear. So here you have got interviews. Like you are questioning the doctor, also dietitian. What kind of idli you're giving? The dietitian gave me a look. What kind of a question she's asking me? And I said, ma'am, there are different varieties of idlis. Now, when I researched on YouTube, I know that at least I could find 168 varieties of idlis. Now, I was shocked, and I said, oh my God, 168 varieties of idlis, and not just the rice idli or the fermented idli or the suji ka idli that we make, which we call it as rava idli rather than. So, I know at least 4 or 5 varieties, but when I realized it, 168 forms of idlis, I said, oh God, this is a lot of it. So when I questioned her, she just looked at me. She said that I don't enter into kitchen, so I do not know how do they prepare. So I was shocked. It gave me a big shock of my life. Being a female dietitian, how could a person speak? Now, that's the biggest question mark for me. And I had to literally ponder upon, if I was a nutritionist or a dietitian, can it take place? Now, that is the observation I'm talking about. Interviews, you start asking the questions. For example, the first time when she underwent the surgery, it was like doctor said, should I insert the needle through her femur part, that is the calf region, just below the knee part. And I was wondering, how can he do the surgery by just inserting the needle into it, and how will it reach to the heart? And when I saw it, it was like, oh my god, this is how they are taking care. Now similarly, they said, okay, we don't want to use the femur because she is a paralytic patient also, side by side, and she is undergoing, and on one side, like she is paralytic from her left side of her body, so from there they cannot insert it because there won't be any pain sensation. So they said that using her right hand side will be very difficult because a lot of pressure would be there, so we don't want to use that part. So now you understand how, when I started asking, these are the question and answer sessions that are taking place, and we know, document the reviews, whatever reviews are there, it can be the verbal reviews or the published reviews, you can go ahead and you can even document it. Similarly, focus groups. Now you see, me as an attendee, now there were 4 or 5 types of why 5, there were 6 types of doctors who were attending my mother simultaneously. One, mainly cardiologist was there, number 1. Number 2, cardiologist expert I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the assistants, I'm talking about the expert. Then, because she's a diabetic patient, there was this nephrologist who was present. Again, he's an expert person over there. The third comes the general physician who was taking care of her generally, in the sense that what kind of and then the third person was the medicator, in the sense that what kind of a medicines should be advocated to my mother. So that was the 4th person. And the 5th person is definitely dietitian, nutritionist, all those people who were there and with whom we are interacting, all 5 of them together standing in front of me and giving me the reports, let's say 4 times a day, because she was in emergency. Now when I understood, so it was like all of us together. So focus group does not mean that me asking just the questions to the other side, it can be the other way around. So once you are able to understand what exactly is the focus group, you will be understanding it more. Similarly, when I'm talking about other things, it's purely observation. That is also mandatory, where you are mum, you are not talking at all, it's just the one side of the information which is being given to you. That also you can, like for example, if you go to the educational department, especially in Montessori schools, the teachers are not allowed to interact more with the students. However, they give the leverage, complete freedom to the students, and you will see how the students are performing. And here there are minded, one should understand that there is no classification at the early level. Now when I say classification, there is no demarcation, nursery class, preschool, play school, or nursery class, upper KG, or your the KG classes or something like that. The next one is come. It's just one wherein all the students are together, and there are a lot of materials which are given. And I really loved the Montessori setup fully, because children are picking up with their own choice of the things that they really want to play with. When I say play, I'm putting it in quote unquote, because they are spending the time. You are giving the time for them to get saturated. Now that is more important. If in the childhood that saturation point is not there, it is said very clearly that it takes different forms, wherein you can see the negativity coming in the developmental processes for that particular child as the child is growing up. For example, let's say in my childhood, I was never allowed to play a lot, or let us take a very simple example where I'm not allowed to color a lot with my favorite crayon. Now you see, if that is not there, now when I take up these sessions, especially in some of the companies wherein I'm invited to handle the stress management or anger management, I do not talk to individuals at all. After the introduction from both the sides, I just give them the sheets wherein there are like some sketches are there in black and white, and I give them a basket of crayons and I tell them, please pick up your own crayons and you start coloring the sheets that I have given to you, whatever colors you want. And you will see that these individuals who are working in the companies, and I give them that 1 hour of the time, and you will see that they relish that 1 hour of time just shedding those things, and that shows that when they were children. So you see how you're linking up. Now these are what we call it as the observations, pure observations, not the participants observation. I did not even participate. No, we will understand once I introduce these kind of study designs and know more of it. So feminism is one, interpretivism is one, then you have got descriptivism where you are describing. Now you see, when a nurse is talking to a patient, she'll come and say, आज तो आप बहुत अच्छे लग रहे हो, लगता है कि आपको नींद अच्छी आई है. So you know, when she is talking in these two sentences, she was very positive and everything. However, patient who listens to her, either she gets irritated and say कि मैं कहाँ से अच्छी लग रही हूँ, मुझे नहीं लगता, रात भर तो मैं सोई नहीं हूँ. Now you understood the reaction which is coming in the form of the language. Now that is where descriptivism, and then we have got other schools also, and we will see when I discuss about the study designs with you in my separate playlist. The next one that you talk about is okay, now in methods. Now look at the opposite side, that is on the right hand side. Describe the methods used to answer the research question. Now look, whether it is qualitative or they are doing the quantitative methods. If it is quantitative methods, ANOVA, chi-square, or correlation, or EFA, or they have just focused on CFA. And nowadays, thanks to big data, you know, you have got machine learning, neural networks, then you have got you know, other techniques which are available. Now you will see a lot of publications, they are talking about all these things. So those are the ones that you need to go ahead and you know, pin it down. The next question is, are the methods congruent with the philosophical underpinnings and the purpose? Now you see, unless and until you do not know at all the philosophical assumptions that are being used, how would you go ahead and write it down? And you will see that in papers they are absolutely clear about this. Maybe they will jot down in single line and they will say that yes, this is this, and by the time they come to the discussion, apart from discussing their qualitative results or the quantitative result, they even talk about. And if you are at the level of your research, higher education I'm talking about, wherein you are at the level of either MPhil or let's start off, begin it. Now in other countries I see that they start off with the undergraduation program itself, wherein they give you certain assignments and you're supposed to do it. By the time you come to the masters, they prefer that yes, you are in your last semester writing a mini thesis, you know, about 5,000 words, wherein the chapters are there. But by the time you come to MPhil, you know it. I don't have to tell you what you're writing altogether. And by the time you come to PhD, wow, it's a bonanza, research bonanza for me, and I have got the freedom to you know, whatever I have learned, I'm just going to record it on papers. So you know how you are able to. Now if you are into PhD, I see that in some of them they give a lot of importance to philosophical assumptions which are there, whereas here this is the missing gap in research itself. So try to understand philosophical assumptions are also equally important for you, since you are trying to achieve the truth or the objectivity through the qualitative methods or by the quantitative methods. Now that is the area where you need to understand. The next one that we are talking about is the sampling. Now it is quite shocking that yes, sampling in qualitative studies, absolutely yes. So the entire picture that you have got for a qualitative study and quantitative study, you cannot say okay, quantitative this items are there, whereas in qualitative is just no. You're absolutely wrong. Here comes the sampling, how much of samples you're taking it up, and you will see a good qualitative paper always discusses what is the population and what is the sampling. So was the process of purposeful selection described, either yes or no? Now, this thing really takes place even in the law, legal studies, architecture, schools, or engineering sector you take up. That's the reason why I thought let this particular framework be called exclusively as a qualitative critique framework, so that you are able to know these questions are absolutely same whether you come from the school of medicine, school of nursing, surgery, or you're coming from architecture, design and planning, or fashion management, or you can even talk about general management or the schools like commerce, finance, economics, or on the other side you have got the social and humanities. Now these kind of things are universal and these have to be maintained in your papers when you're writing it down. Was the process of purposeful selection described or not? Yes or no? Simple yes or no. You're not writing a lot. Then, was the sampling method appropriate to the study purpose or research question? We all know how to calculate the sample size. Is it the same way that we are doing it here, or is it something else? Is what you need to understand. However, before I can express all these things, you should know it from the paper that you are reading. If it is a good paper, all these things will be mentioned, and I'll show you how it is being taken care. Was sampling done until redundancy in data was reached? Now, the concept of redundancy analysis was very beautifully explained by Dr. Neeraj Kaushik sir, and in his last workshop which I attended on smart PLS, and the way he integrated it with ANN or neural network, it's a superb, excellently he has done, and he has explained it very clearly. What do we mean by redundancy data? Now, at that time, for me, he is now one teacher exclusively whom I'm seriously I take and focus a lot of things. So anyway, let me come back to here, and here you will see that yes, no, not address can be mentioned. Are the participants described in adequate detail? This is also all these things. So now you understand when the question of reporting comes in, you need to know whether these things have been taken care, and this helps you in the, and that is the reason why I'm trying to come up with this particular video, so that we know what we are doing. Now come to the right hand side. Describe sampling methods used. How is the sample applicable to your practice or research question? So you pick up any paper that you're taking care, these things have to be mentioned over here. Similarly, let's go for the data collection. Descriptive clarity was there or not for me? Number one, that is the first part of your data collection. Clear and complete description of the site, whatever it is. Did I really mention it properly or not? Has to be given. Now you see, yes or no, participants, yes or no, role of researcher and relationship with participants, yes or no. Now you see, once you have answered, turn them into sentences, as simple as that. Now that's your, when I say creativity, it means how well can you explain that yes, the descriptive clarity was present for me or not for the particular thing. You will just convert this whole thing, that is clear and complete description, the first part. This is my first part, I would say. So was this thing taken care properly or not? Did I describe my participants, that yes, the participants were from this area, the age group is so and so, and they were let's say exclusively in my study it would be Apollo Hospital, Saita Vihar in New Delhi, and exactly I'm mentioning it or not, or it can be Delhi University, let's say Kamala Nehru College, Delhi University, or Miranda House, Delhi University, or it can be Hansraj College, Delhi University. Now how you are going to take care of it? Or NIFT Delhi, House Khas, New Delhi, how you are going to put all these things into your paper. Role of researcher and relationship with the participants. You have to say what level you are at, whether you are writing a paper or you have got a grant for a project of yours which you are associated, and through that particular grant you are trying to capture that particular part of the population which is really going to, it can be university, a college, it can be a hospital, it can be a market that you are trying to focus, or a bank that you are going to focus, kind of a thing. Identification of assumptions and biases of the researcher.
Now here in my case, let's say if I'm observing it, just my mother and the patients who and that also the patients in emergency room, I cannot go, because in that particular area of the emergency where heart patients were admitted, all were heart patients. So my business was that I focused only on the heart patients, not on the other kind of patients who were coming and getting admitted to the emergency ward. That's what I would say. So you can go ahead and you can document this. Now coming to the right hand side, describe the context of the study. Was it sufficient for understanding the whole picture? Now if I have to, why this is important, tomorrow if I have to write a paper, then if you remember in the documentation of your title, when you are creating your title, you need to mention it as crisp and clearly and in a transparent manner. So if I am talking about one hospital, that is Apollo Hospital, is that, and that also one particular ward, is the whole thing enough for me? Now what was missing? Now if it is my own thing that I'm taking care of it, I'm explaining two things. If I'm writing about my own research, then when I'm trying to answer this, I can say my limitations. Now I limited myself only to the cardiology department or nephrology department or surgery department of Apollo hospitals more than anything else. Now what was missing? I pointed out. If you are reading the paper, point it out what was missing. For example, if you do not see a clear and complete description was mentioned, write it down. This was missing. I could not see that. Now that is a gap. Then tomorrow if you want to understand it, that yes, population was not described, now you are going to do a research where you are describing your population crisp, clear and with clarity, that yes, see, this is what I'm doing. I'm talking about the let's say finance department of Delhi University. Now Delhi University is again bifurcated into two campuses, South Campus and North Campus. So I can say finance department of North Campus present in the Delhi University. So I'm going to pinpoint it like that. Or I can say cardiology department of the Apollo Hospital on Saita Vihar, New Delhi. That makes my whole picture. Then what was missing? I can write it down. I did not cover the other departments like radiology, nephrology. Then you can talk about the other departments like X-ray department. Then there are general departments are there, opticians are there. Then a lot of departments are present. So you can mention about all those things out here. And how does that influence your understanding of the research? The influence is what? Immediately, right? If you are not able to do it at this point, just hold on, keep a hold of it, go to the next one and come back once you have completed the entire reading, and you can see what was missing out here. Now for example, descriptive clarity about the participants. Now I'm conducting a focus group and I'm not talking anything about my participants, is a rubbish. I'm not doing my research properly. So I need to be mentioning it that yes, I took this interview, the focus groups interviews at let's say Genpact or GE Capital located at Gurgaon near the IFCO Chowk. Okay, on so and so date and the time also. Now for example, if I'm conducting the interview, timings are really important, and how much time the person took to answer you need to document that also side by side. And I'll show you one of the working sheet of mine where these things were really important, and you will understand. If not immediately, these dates and times, for example, if you have given a questionnaire, especially when you are doing a qualitative study and you have handed over a questionnaire to the participants, you will see if it is a school at the class, you will see a class 6th student who is answering to you, and the manner a class 12th or 11th student is answering your questionnaire properly. Or even if you are taking a verbal questionnaire, question and answer session over there, you can understand. Now Delphi method is one of them, Delphi method. Brainstorming is another. We will talk about those things also later on. So did you really describe your participants? For example, I'm very fond of pottery. Now maximum of my time when I go to the house cars market or the villages which are there, I spend some time with those potters, just sit next to them, learn how to put my fingers into that clay or the mud which is there, and play with it like the way they play on that potter's wheel, in order to come up with a small pot or a big pot or whatever you want to design it. Now you see, even there, when you are present and you're interacting with the person, the expert who is there, okay, and you are able to do simultaneously 3-4 things, that is also an art. Now there, as a participant, how you are going to describe it is also taking up. We will understand this thing once I come to those areas. Role of researcher and relationship. Is there any role? Let's say I'm the manager and I'm taking the let's say brainstorming session with my whole team, or HOD wants to take the feedback about his own team members, that is other teachers. What does he do? He will ask all the teachers to be out of the room, and just he and his students. He can give the forms and the feedback is taken on the form. Sometimes he might even ask, okay, how do you find so and so teacher? Or maybe if not in the group, maybe one student can go and tell the teacher that, see, this person has asked this question, and it was so. The HOD has to be really very sweet with his students and tell them. Now similarly, there are a lot of ways in which you can go ahead and you need to do this kind of a documentation. Then identification of assumption and biases. I told you, if you have got, and this has a lot of importance, and we will see Neeraj sir has really explained to us how to deal with these biases, and these are also very important, especially if they are present in the published papers, and we will have a look at it also. Procedural rigor. Here you will see procedural rigor was used in data collection strategies or not. Now yes, no, not addressed. Now what does this mean? Now have a look on the right hand side. They have given you the description. The details about it I would be dealing with when I'm discussing about the guidelines for critical review under this one. Okay, so that will make your work much more easier, and we can come over. Do the researchers provide adequate information about data collection procedures, like gaining access to the site? Now you see, emergency ward, if you want to go, can you go inside the emergency ward of the Apollo hospital? There are so many checkpoints are there. Only the attendees are allowed. Now, and that also an I-card is given, and if you do not show the I-card, I'm so sorry, you're not allowed. So how is that you're going to get the access to that particular site is what you need to document. Field notes. Are you taking simultaneously, or is it that first the observation, then you sit separately, and when it is your leisure time you're writing it down? How are you making the field notes? Now training data gatherers. Now let's say that I am already, like my mother is out and I'm not able to go back to the hospital. So how would I collect the data? So there are certain trained data gatherers which nobody tells you. Let me tell you, in qualitative study there are trained people, and through how these are trained, and that also is another session is required for that to understand, and whether I myself can be a trained data gatherer or a data collector, or there has to be somebody else who are trained on my behalf, and we simulate it and then create the entire thing. Create in the sense, not the fake data, the real data. How is it being taken care of? We will understand those things also. Describe any flexibility in the design or the data collection methods. Whether there was any kind of a flexibility or not is something that you need to understand. Data analysis, analytical rigor. Data analysis were inductive. Now you see, this is where my biggest problem comes in. We talk about deductive and inductive, and majority of the time I see people saying that, okay, I have used the deductive reasoning. However, by the time they are coming towards the end of their analysis, is basically the inductive reasoning. So how did you do it without mentioning it? That is the biggest discrepancy that we have got, and we need to go ahead and either describe it or we need to say that yes, I do not know about it. You be very transparent, because you're even writing under the chapter of research methodology. One heading, subheading is ethical considerations towards your research. If you do not know, simply say yes, I do not know. Then please do not use those words that yes, I have done this thing. You have to be very careful. Similarly, findings were consistent with the reflective, and how you are going to select deductive or inductive, or deductive and inductive is also another session is there, wherein you really understand, and this totally depends upon your research design and the philosophical assumption. Now you see the sequence that we are talking about in the research, all of them are interrelated. You cannot say we do not require this and I'm happy with this. No, if you are doing a complete research, do it in a complete manner. Now findings were consistent and with the reflective of the data that has been collected. So see, your answers are just yes or no. You are not writing anything else. More things are not at all required. Describe methods of data analysis. Now in any paper you will see that they do talk about methodology, what they have used. So this is where the answer would be coming. Were the methods appropriate? Now our objective is something else, the review of literature is saying something else, the research question that I have raised. Now you see, research question, then comes your ROL, that is review of literature, from where you find out your missing gap, and then you come up, build up your objectives, then you are going ahead with your research question, and then you go ahead with building up your hypotheses or the further part of the research. Now all of them, are they really taken care in a sequence? Number one, the timeline has been managed very well or not is what you need to understand, and you need to pinpoint it if you are a very strong person over there. Then comes what we call it as the auditability. What does that mean? Decision trail developed. That means describe the decisions of the researcher, that is transformation of data to codes or themes. Now you see, if you are not coming from the big data, then and you're not using I would say Python or R Studios or the way they conduct their EFN, everything, you really enter changing the transformation of the data to the codes in SPSS, and I hate to do that. However, sometimes you are allowed, and then creating the themes. Either you go ahead with the codes, number one, like if you are using NVivo or Atlas TI for this thing, and then which is again 9, all these softwares, it takes a lot of time for you to create the codes and the themes also. So what kind of softwares were used, as you mentioned in the quantitative? Once I'll show you the review form for the quantitative, you will be able to understand. Here you will see that yes, themes, how well they have been generated, and what is the difference between the themes as well as the content. There's a lot of difference. Now can we do it simply on the Excel sheet? Definitely yes, and that is much more easier way to go ahead and do it. Now outline the rationale given for the development of the themes. How you derive the entire themes is also an exercise in itself, and when I'm taking the workshop, it is basically the secondary sources, ROL, that you are doing. Now after you have completed your observations and your reading, studyings about the prior literature, how do you develop the themes is in exercise in itself, and how do you document it? So that is what I'll be showcasing to you, that also. Theoretical connections did a beautiful picture of the phenomena under study emerges. Now you see, if you are coming up with the constructs, if you from your observations, how you are moving nicely to the world of constructs, construct 1, 2, 3, 4, or the models which you are developing, model 1, 2, 3, 4, all these things, it comes under the theoretical connections. That means you are reading your textbooks, you remember your own textbook. Now for example, if I am coming from the marketing domain, if I have not read Philip Kotler's book, and in the interview, if I'm caught, that yes, can you tell me what is on this particular chapter which has been published in Philip, or the interviewer can ask you this question: have you read any textbook on marketing? That is the choice they have given, and you say yes. And which book? So you say Philip Kotler's Introduction to Marketing. Now the interviewer assumes, if you have taken the name, that yes, you have read that textbook. So the next question they ask you is, which is your favorite chapter? Or if you have read, I suppose in this particular chapter you have read this particular, in this particular book you have read this particular chapter, so can you please explain to me whether you agree with Philip Kotler's ideas or not? So what are the interviewer trying to do? He's trying to test you whether you have read and what is your critical thinking. So this particular part helps you in understanding, developing your critical discussion about the paper. We will see that also later on. Theoretical connections, yes or no? How are the concept understudy clarified and refined? Relationships made clear. Now I know when I was getting trained, I did not do that, and I'm very transparent about it. It was at a later stage when I sent a paper to one of the editor, and he asked me, Ramani, there are these variables. However, can you please show me the relationship between the variables that you have chosen, along with at least 5 to 6 support from the literature. Now, you know, if I have to take up an independent variable and a dependent variable, and the arrow is going from IDV to DV, he asked me, can you show me 5 papers where this support is there for you? So you see, I had to do that, and that is where the relationships are made clear from the ROL, and we will see that one also. Describe any conceptual frameworks that emerge. Now, if you know the prior scales, and if you are using them, you can use them under your theoretical connections, or if you have read some of the textbooks which are mandatory for that. For example, like I love philosophy a lot. Basically, is where I'm trained more, and later on management, law, I would say even journalism, mass communication as a subject, and education came later on in my life. So my grounding in the domain of philosophy has made me so strong, and now I'm able to understand why my teachers invested so much of their time on me, and they always said, we want you in our class. You know, it was not me, not that I was trying to bunk my classes. However, let's say if I'm not interested in one of the branches of philosophy, you know, it's a natural tendency that students do not like it. They don't like to attend that particular session. However, my teacher, I know one day he called me up. I was sitting with the group of my friends, and he called me up immediately to his room, and he pointed out, you know, wherein he said, I want you in my class. And I just looked at him. I said, okay. And that was the day, I remember it very well, that I could not. It was from morning 9 to evening 5 o'clock. Wherever my teacher was going, I had to literally go. You know, it can be, let's say, a class that he's taking for the PG students, first year, second year, or for MPhil students, or his foundational classes, or he is going to the other college to deliver the lectures, or even the seminar or conferences. So that is how I got that habit of being totally into the world of learning, and developing a weakness for learning, and not only learning, even how to argue certain things and pinpoint it. For example, let's say my teacher has taken up and taking the support of the paper which we are reading together. Now he will put himself in his or her shoes for the paper writers, and I'm on the opposite side. Now, you know, as we are developing a logical skills, you will see maybe through I mean, I'm really sorry, I had to even upload some of the videos on that also, because I have seen it really is important for the development of critical thinking and developing that particular skill. And when you are able to understand, you are able to either 3 ways are there in which you can go ahead. Either you criticize it, You see, a person, and I'm talking, when I say a person, I'm talking about the theory, and you say, okay, how can this be possible looking at the time? Now I'm pretty sure a time was there when there was no existence of big data. It was just a simple data, and you are able to do. Now when we're talking about big data, now the things have come in. Initially we never used to talk about training a data set or testing a data set. However, you come to machine learning, neural networks, or you go for artificial intelligence, till the time you don't have first the data, that has to be a good one. When I say a good one, a big data, then comes the bifurcation, training the data and testing the data. So where was this step earlier? We never used to do it, but now we are doing it. Now I see the differences even in the working of smart PLS versus the machine learning languages. Now, for example, recently I was learning the ANN through Dr. Neeraj Kaushik sir, and when he taught me one of the steps wherein you have to understand how to derive sum of squared means. Now when I was doing it, in my data set I could not get RMSE, I mean the sum of squared thing. I was wondering why SPSS is not giving to me, so I had to back up myself because it was midnight and I could not disturb Neeraj sir at that time. So obviously what was the next thing, because intelligently and my brain is little bit emotional also. For the intelligence level, I would say it did not allow me to sleep, so I had to pick up the IBM published SPSS 26 versions documentation. I had to pick up and I had to read, in case for my data I'm not able to get the sum of squared means. Okay, then what am I supposed to do? Then the choices were given different. However, there was some doubt. The same thing I did it in machine learning in both R Studios as well as Python. I did not have to boggle. It was the same data. However, it was able to calculate and it gave me. So I had two versions of it. One either in ANN, that is for the calculation of the neural networks using SPSS, did not allow me. So is this more genuine? Or the machine learning languages for ANN, when I'm trying to do it and I got the sum of squared means and not the other values, wherein I'm not supposed to use sigmoid or the hyper thing. At that time, what kind of things were happening? So I had to raise these questions to the developers of Python as well as R Studios, and I'm literally waiting for their answer. Okay, when SPSS is not able to give it to me the result, how come Python and machine learning is giving? Now you understand, these are the ways you are going to observe, make observations, and you are criticizing it, and you are able to develop certain things for yourself. The last one that we talk about is the ethical considerations, which I have told you. Supposing that the data is so sensitive in the hospital, can I go ahead and discuss about certain things? However, then I decided, Ramni, you are a researcher first, and your sensitivity should be more towards the research rather than on the patients or whether the data that you are thinking about. For example, my conversations with my mother, or the conversations with the doctor, or the conversation. I mean, there were so many things that I could see. Like a heart surgeon, a cardiologist asked one of the patient who was there. Okay, he asked, Mr. Rai, do you drink? Now, this was a normal question which a cardiologist, however, I saw the way the patient reacted and he raised such a concern. He said, how could a cardiologist question me? He has hurt my sentiments because I'm a pure vegetarian. Then my ears got alert and I was thinking, a vegetarian and alcohol drinks, how does these two are related to each other? Now, I really started thinking, can there be a relationship between vegetarianism and alcoholism also? Then later on, when he cooled down, I went and because I was helping them to get some medicines and they did not have any children, both husband and wife was more tensed up and she could not leave her husband from the emergency room. So I took that initiative for helping them, and I told them, it's okay, I'm also just like your daughter, so you can delegate your responsibility to me of getting the medicine and I can get it immediately if you want. So that's how my rapport. So I went towards him and I said, uncle, you're just like my father. right? Now tell me, why were you so hyper? Because for a heart patient, they are not supposed to come up to that level of losing their temper. They need to be, because it does has a lot of pressure on their heart. So I had to make them understand this thing. So he said, Ramani, I do not drink, I do not consume alcohol. So as a surgeon who is getting the leverage, and he said that yes, it's me who is paying the amount. So let me continue from here in my next video and understand more about it. Till then, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.